It is Fox Across America with Jimmy Failla doing the damn thing. A big Wednesday episode of the show. I know a lot of you were up all night watching the State of the Union. This next guest was up all night attending the State of the Union. And joining us now to give us a review from the box seats, superstar representative from the great state of Florida, Byron Donalds, back on the show. Hey, man.
Jimmy, aren't you glad I'm on the show to tell you how it went?
My insider. My man on the inside. There it is.
I'm like the Brian Windhorse of Congress or something.
Well, it's better than being the Stephen A. Smith.
Oh, that's who I love, Stephen A. Shut up.
Well, Stephen A., he was on Hannity with me last week. We were hanging out in the green room last Thursday night talking sports, and he gave me some good intel. I just like heckling him because he always heckles Hannity. He comes to Fox because he's Stephen A. Smith. You know what I'm saying? He lives in the People's Republic of Stephen A. Smith. He walks right in, starts taking shot at Sean's shirt, yelling at him for his collar. Then he's going at it with me for my Super Bowl theory. You know, he's Kool-Aid. You know how Kool-Aid just roller skates through the wall and starts, yeah. That's Stephen A.
Yep.
So
listen, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm probably the first member of Congress who might do first take. I'm just throwing that out there into the atmosphere. You know.
So you're my man on the inside, and I'm now your media booker? Is that the exchange?
You got it. You got it, Jimmy. That's the relationship. America, that's what we're doing.
Let me get to work on that. Well, as a Brian Windhorse, as you self-described yourself, Brian Windhorse was around a lot of locker rooms. He probably would have noticed if one of the players seemed to be shot up with some type of performance enhancer. Did they put a little too much caffeine in the old White House coffee pot last night? Why was he so amped up and yelling?
I don't know. He yells. Like, first of all, in the chamber, what most people don't understand is the acoustics are actually really bad in the House chamber. The sound system is not good. You figured all the trillions of dollars we spend, we'd have a good sound system. It's actually not true. Wow. And then he mumbles, and he speaks fast, and he mispronounces words. And then he starts yelling. So there's things in the speech you're like, wait, what did he say? And we're having to confirm it with other people. Did he just say that? Yeah, that's what he said. You know, members are texting their staffs. Hey, did you hear that? It's tough, but the speech was still very just incoherent and all over the place. My favorite is that at the beginning of the speech, he was blasting Big Pharma. But at the end of the speech, he's praising Big Pharma for helping him with his cancer moonshot.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a have it both ways mentality going there. What I thought was interesting was oil. You know, he made a ridiculous claim, we'll need oil for at least another decade, which is technically true. But the idea that he'd admit to needing oil but not want it to be produced here is kind of a weird cell phone too, isn't it?
It's ridiculous, and it makes no sense. Jimmy, if you tell a company, hey, I want your product, but I only need it for 10 years, they're not going to do the necessary investment to have it ready. You might get 5 years of production because nobody's going to lend them more than 10 years worth of money because you're going to shut them down in 10 years. This is the problem for the oil guys. And look, the honest truth is we are always going to need petroleum. Petroleum, oil, whatever you want to call it, is in just about every product that people buy in the United States. Yep. And you want to know why we're still going to be using oil in the United States? Because every lady listening to your show loves to get her hair done. I promise you this. If the choice is between not getting my hair done and developing oil, the choice is going to be to develop oil.
You got
I'm telling you.
The green energy movement comes with a lot of bad hairdos.
100%. That's why, the bowl cut, typically, older ladies on the Democrat side of the aisle use, like the older, the bowl cut, where your color's not good. Yeah, there's just a lot of women in America that's not going to stand for that, man. And that is not a sexist statement. That is an accurate statement.
No, they need the petroleum. Byron Donalds is on the Byron Donalds is on the show, superstar representative from the 19th Congressional District of Florida. Were you part of the crowd that heckled him on fentanyl, or were you just there watching it in amusement?
No, I heckled him because it was
good for you,
Jimmy, man. It was really it was an obscene way he went about talking about it. He was talking about fentanyl as if he had kept all of Donald Trump's policies on the border. Yeah. When you talk to the border agents, they tell you firsthand. When he came in, he changed the procedures. The drug cartels know this. So the drug cartels have ramped up their trafficking, their human trafficking to the southern border, and they tell the migrants to go walk right up to the border agents and just give themselves up. The reason they do this is because the border agents, instead of turning them back and sending them back south of the border, now are processing everybody that they come into encounter with.
Yeah.
So what happens is you have a border agent that's dealing with 30 people, 40 people, and he's having to do paperwork. Well, then the gotaways, quote unquote, they just come running in the open gaps. This is real simple stuff. You know what this is like, Jimmy? It's like somebody running a spread offense.
Yep.
And all you're trying to do when you run a spread offense is you're trying to get DBs having to cover too much ground, and you start hitting them in seams and hitting them in cracks. That's what the drug cartel is doing to us.
It's unbelievable. The drug cartel is Vince Young running a read option at the southern border. This is craziness, but it's a great analogy.
You got it right. That's exactly what's happening. Well, not Vince Young per se, because I actually like him.
No, he's good.
Essentially, this is correct.
It's so funny. It's the kind of analysis you get on Fox Across America. Well, I wanted to make this point. A lot of the things he called the Republicans out for, I actually thought made them look better. Like when he highlighted that some Republicans want to repeal the Inflation Reduction Act, that's to me a bright spot for Republicans because the Inflation Reduction Act doesn't reduce inflation.
Nope. Yeah, my buddy Andy Ogles out of Tennessee has that bill. Yeah. And so, I got to give it to a freshman member of Congress when he comes up with something good. Shout out to Andy Ogles. But his Inflation Reduction Act, like he likes to call it, is just like the baby sister of the Green New Deal. That's all it is. The thing is chock full of green subsidies, and then they threw inflation insulin caps on there, and they call it inflation reduction. That's what the bill does. It was obscene spending, and it's ridiculous. We should repeal it.
Thank you. We're talking to Byron Donalds from the 19th Congressional District of Florida. I mean, the biggest question you and I have to get to, while I still have you on the line, is are we betting the Eagles or the Chiefs?
I got to go Chiefs, man.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes is that dude, and I've seen many a defense say, yeah, we can get him, and he just has a way. But if there's a team that can beat this Chiefs team, it's this Eagles team. They have so much talent, top to bottom. The only team that's more talented than this team, were my Cowboys. But, my quarterback didn't get the job done. I think Pat Mahomes is going to get the job done.
He is a hardcore dude. He really is. And having an extra week to rest, he might look a little more mobile than he did last week, where he rolled out on that final play and might have benefited from 2 or 3 holding non-calls from the referees. But the point is, he got it done, and he's a tough guy to bet against. The one thing I think favors the Chiefs is that it's a neutral site game, because I wouldn't want to play in Philly. Like, Kansas City has great fans, but Philly has, relentless fans. You know what I'm saying?
Notice my commentary on the Philadelphia Eagles is while I'm still in D.C. If I'm in the confines, the city limits of Philadelphia, I'm gonna keep my opinions to myself.
I was telling Jim Jordan yesterday on the show. I'm like, the Philly fans, they literally egged San Francisco's bus last week, 2 weeks ago. Well, eggs are $7 a carton. They're still throwing eggs. That's a commitment to heckling that you don't see around the league. You think anybody else is throwing eggs at $7 a carton?
Nah, but Philadelphia is a blue city, man, so they probably got a subsidy from the federal government.
They're actually hitting San Francisco with organic eggs. There's some free range cage. It's even more demoralizing. That's funny. Funny stuff. Last question, I'll let you go, because there was one other thing.
Yes.
The common thread through this whole process was just more, I thought, big government. I mean, I thought that's what the whole speech was like an ode to big government. So what does that say in terms of this standoff as far as it pertains to the debt ceiling going forward? Is this thing about to get uglier before it gets pretty?
I think it's going to get uglier because we have to cut spending. I mean, he spent $5 trillion more than we have in the normal course of governmental spending on these phony pandemic bills. They were phony bills. They're all payoffs to people and their interest groups. And so we're going to have to cut all that stuff out of the budget baseline. People are talking about, you already did the Inflation Reduction Act. You already did the American Rescue Plan. What do you want to cut? But a lot of that stuff gets into the budget baseline. You got to take that stuff pre-pandemic. The Democrats aren't going to want to do that. So it's going to get uglier before it gets better. But I think the key thing is for, the capital markets is we're going to increase the debt ceiling. It's just a matter of what the negotiations come out with. And if congressional Democrats think that they're just going to be able to hide behind, you have to raise the debt ceiling, that's just not going to be good enough. Because, like Jimmy, everybody says, you got to pay the debts. You got to pay the debts. I agree, you do. But what the credit agencies and what the markets also want to see is the Congress get its spending under control for once.
Yeah,
That's
imagine
what they want to see.
No,
it's going to be important for the country.
Yeah, imagine that, because Congress really is, for all intents and purposes. Do you remember when you were young and you're single, you went to the bar, and you had that friend who always wanted to send a round of drinks over to that group of girls, but he never had any money to chip in? It's like they got a lot of good ideas, but you generally wind up subsidizing most of them. That's the problem.
Yeah, I had a buddy or two like that. You know, you have to split the bill, and I'm like, I didn't talk to her. I'm not splitting the bill with you.
Didn't say a word. I was on the phone. I don't know what you're talking about. All right, well, good intel as always. I will be rooting for your Chiefs because my son gave them out. I was in Reno this weekend doing stand-up. My son came on stage and made a cameo and declared to the crowd that the Chiefs are going to win and cover the spread in a casino. So in a casino, I'm kind of carrying some liability here. So if you don't hear from me for a few weeks, it's because the Eagles won the Super Bowl and I'm in hiding.
I got you, man. Listen, whatever you do, don't call me.
There it is. A friend to the end. You're the best, BD. I'll see you soon. Hilarious.
See you, Jimmy.
There he goes, the great Byron Donald. Yo.